Okay, so welcome to your first assembly after half term. And the first thing I'd like to do is to celebrate how brilliant your first half term at Finnan Park Sixth Form was. I talked to you a little bit about this last time we spoke, which was before half term, but I'm just so impressed by how well you have worked, how good your attendance and punctuality has been, how well you've fulfilled our expectations, the vibrancy of your year group, the number of you who've come forward to organise extracurricular activities. And I just want to say a huge thank you from myself and from the sixth form team for how strongly you have started. So thank you for that. You are very much appreciated, and I absolutely love working with every single one of you. So, firstly, I'm going to begin with the trigger warning. Later in this assembly, we're going to be talking a bit about men's mental health. So you will know that it's November, and November is a Movember. There's a charity does Movember and talks about various things, men's mental health, men's physical health. But as part of that, I'm going to talk a little bit about men's mental health. Now, I am going to have a pause before we start that bit of the assembly. And if that's triggering for you, please speak to your mentor discreetly and they will let you step out. If that happens, please stay for the first bit of the assembly because there are some important notices you will need to be aware of. But if that happens, then you may head to Mrs. Hosking for some wellbeing support. Okay, as I said, I will have a pause before we get on to anything about mental health. So if you feel that you cannot cope with listening to talk about mental health, then I absolutely encourage you to feel able to step out. Right then, so notices. Firstly, tonight's Period 6 Plus talk is about volunteering for the Citizens Advice Bureau. I'd like to reinforce once more, this is a talk that lots of you should attend. It is both about the Citizens Advice Bureau. If anyone doesn't know what that is, the Citizens Advice Bureau is basically an organisation that runs drop-in sessions. People can either book an appointment or drop in, and they go and speak to people for general advice. The advice could be about how to apply for benefits, how to get food bank support, how to manage a house purchase, how to access childcare support, anything like that. So the Citizens Advice Bureau is literally what it sounds like. It's a place that any citizen, any person can go and seek advice and support. Now, the Citizens Advice Bureau is an amazing organisation, but they need loads of volunteers. Now, lots of you have said to me that you will struggle to get experience or work experience or volunteering opportunities that are suitable for you, which you need for your personal statement. The Citizens Advice Bureau is a great place for you to volunteer, and I have already explained to the person coming tonight that if any of you are interested, we will release you for one afternoon a week when you've got study periods to go and actually do some volunteering. But also, the person coming tonight is going to talk about volunteering more generally, and volunteering is one of the best ways that you can obtain relevant experience to put on your CV, your personal statement, your covering letter, depending on what you're applying for. So I strongly recommend that as many of you as possible attend the talk tonight because it really will be very valuable. Advanced notice that next week's Period 6 talk is from a chap who survived the genocide in Rwanda. Obviously, that'll be very different. That's going to be his first-hand account of some of the experiences he had living through the atrocities. But again, is going to be incredibly powerful and incredibly valuable. So please keep that free. Right, on Friday, we're having a pyjama day to fundraise for children in need. A letter is going home to your parents. Now, I'm going to say this once, and I'm going to say it very clearly. We undenied about whether to agree to this. A group of students approached me and said they wanted to organise a pyjama day for children in need because they feel it's a cause they really want to support. Now, I am very, very keen in supporting student leadership projects and supporting fundraising projects for charity. Obviously, this has got to go well, because if it doesn't go well, it'll be much harder to support the next initiative. Now, the students have come up with a list of rules. They're things like make sure you're wearing full-length pyjama trousers, make sure your pyjamas aren't see-through, no little nighties, things like that. It's absolutely essential you follow those rules. Mr. Bedford, the new head teacher, was very supportive of this. But if it goes wrong and we have lots of people wandering around completely inappropriately dressed, he's not going to agree next time. So please work with us on this. We are trusting you and we're giving you a really good opportunity to work as a year group to do this really fun activity, and year 13 as well. So please don't let us down on this one. Right, open evening. Open evening is on the 27th of November. So that's Thursday at the end of this month. we will need students to be translators. A lot of you who did translating for Main School Open Evening, it's similar. The only difference is it's just in T block and the venue. It's not all round school, but we'll need a translator team. Lots of you will be helping with subjects. If you're helping with subjects, you should already know because your subject teachers will have approached you about it. And we just need people generally on the ground. At the end of the assembly, if you're interested in helping, please will you come and sign up so I can make sure I've got enough t-shirts for you. It's been brought to my attention that some of you are not sure how to sign in for afternoon study. So I'm just going to explain this once more so it's absolutely clear. If you have study periods in the morning, you do not need to sign in because your mentor will mark you in for a personal development period, and that mark will last until lunchtime. Because you're allowed to go off site for lunch, everybody needs to sign in at 1:15. If you have a lesson, your teacher will mark you in, so you don't need to come and sign in. But if you have a study period, you need to sign in. The sign-in sheet is held by Mrs. Hosking in the main study centre downstairs. So wherever you choose to study, before you settle, go to Mrs. Hosking at 1:15. She has a paper tick list. Get yourself ticked in and then go to wherever you want to study. Okay, if you have any questions about that, please let me know, but hopefully that is absolutely clear. This has come about because one or two of you have ended up with absence marks in the afternoon because you've not signed in, and so we have thought you are absent, and your parents or carers have fed back to us that you didn't know how to sign in. So I'm just doing a reminder so that it should be absolutely clear. Right then, the next thing I'm going to talk about is how to put in an application for the head student team. So we have quite a big head student team at Finnan Park Sixth Form. Student leadership is one of the things that we believe in probably most strongly. When I first came into the school, we moved away, or not into the school, sorry, into the role of head of sixth form. We moved away from the old model, which was having a head boy and a head girl, deputy head boy, deputy head girl, for two reasons. One is we feel that it's wrong to gender leadership roles. So all of the people on the head student team are called head student, deputy head student, assistant head student. And secondly, I don't think it's right in a sixth form of 400 children to only have 4 people representing the whole of the sixth form. And so we have a large team of 15 students. It might not be exactly 15, it can be flexible, but that's the sort of model that we have. The role starts from January of year 12 and runs to Christmas of year 13. The reason for that is once you get to Christmas of year 13, you will be full speed ahead getting ready for your final exams. And we find that students do not feel able to give their full attention to the role of head student team member once we get to that point. So from January of year 12 to Christmas of year 13, it gives you the best opportunity to really get the stuff done you want to, and then you finish the role, and then you are able to really focus on exams for the 6 months before your exams. So if you're interested, the application form is going to be sent home to your parents' carers today, and you need to complete that application form along with a covering letter. The application form has got a list of bullet points of what you need to include in that covering letter, and the deadline for that application is 9 a.m. on Monday the 1st of December. Now, I'd like to be very clear at this point. I will not be accepting any late applications. My recommendation is that you try and submit it by the Sunday so that you're not worried. I will take submissions, either paper submissions, you can come and physically hand a submission to me, or you can email me your submission electronically. I have no preference between the two, but I will not be considering any applications that I receive after 9 a.m. on Monday the 1st of December. That's an absolutely strict cutoff, so please make sure that you are organised. If there's a very legitimate reason you can't meet that deadline, but by that I mean you're in hospital or something, obviously we'll make an exception. But unless you have that sort of level of event, you need to get organised. That shouldn't be a problem because it's given you 3 weeks, so you've got plenty of time to be organised. The interview process will be held during the week beginning the 8th of December. We haven't yet decided whether we'll interview everybody or whether we'll shortlist. That depends on how many applications we receive. We make that decision each year. If I receive 100 applications, I can't interview all of you. If I receive 15 applications, we will interview all of you. It depends. Then the last week, that should say the last week in December, sorry, there'll be handover meetings. So in the last week of term, Year 13 will have finished their mock exams, so they will have capacity to meet with you and hand over the work they've been doing so that you can either continue their projects or round them off. And then you will start your positions on the 5th of January, which is the start of next term. Okay, so that's the timeline and that's what the process will look like. If you are offered an interview, you will receive more information about what that will look like once you've submitted your letter of application. So this isn't the current head student team, this is actually the one from last year, but this is what the current structure looks like. So there are 3 head students, and then 6 deputy head students, 6 assistant head students, and the team is split into 3 strands: currency, character, and culture. Currency basically is talking about things like results and outcomes. And so the 2 strands within that are transition and academic mentoring. Character is talking about character of people and students, and so that's split into inclusion and equality and well-being. And then culture, we all know what that is, and that's split into cultural diversity and environment. And so probably we will have a structure that looks similar to this, and you will be able to, on your application form, specify if there's a particular role you're interested in. However, when we interview you, if this structure doesn't fit, we will tweak it. So don't panic if you're feeling like there isn't a role on this chart that would really suit you. If you make sure that's clear in your application letter, then we will take that into account. So for information, let's think about some of the things that the teams have done over the last few years. Firstly, head student team often provide training for staff. There are often issues that students feel staff need to become more aware of. Recent head student teams have done training for staff about how to understand their religion. So we had some Muslim students who did a training session for staff about the experience of Ramadan, for example. We've had training for staff from the Pride Alliance. We've had training for staff from a neurodiverse student talking about how they felt, what information they felt staff should understand about neurodiverse students, and so on and so forth. They've organised a huge number of events. The IFTAR being one. We've had an event for Hunley. We've had things like the Pink Day that was before the half term, things like wellbeing days, all sorts of things, culture days, Pride Month. Now, obviously, we have the Pride Alliance, but often members of the Pride Alliance overlap with the members of the head student team, so they work together. Cake sales, charity events, typically head student team and the other society of the school raise between £2,000 and £3,000 a year. They've done various inclusivity projects, including the mural project, environmental awareness. You'll know that this particular head student team have done a project with the school pond area, and they've actually gone out to a local business, Cadent, and arranged for them to come and do some volunteering work at the school. Wellbeing support and supporting with main school assemblies. So those are just some of the things that the head student team have done. Part of your letter of application will be to outline what you would like to do if you were in the role, and it's important that you are ambitious but realistic, so make sure you talk a little bit about how you would be able to achieve the things you want to achieve. So, huge disclaimer, I think being in the head student team is amazing. It's a fab opportunity. You get the opportunity to do genuine leadership and have genuine agency, and you're able to make real and genuine sustained change to the school. But it's a big job and a big responsibility to yourselves and the whole school. So don't take it on unless you actually want to do it. I would discourage you from thinking, oh, I'll just pop in an application so I can write it on my university or apprenticeship application, but I'm not going to do a great deal, because that's not happening. You will be held to account. And so please give some time thinking about whether you have the capacity to actually commit. And you might want to talk to your parents and carers about this at home. Make a plan to make sure that it is a realistic thing for you to do. If it is, put in your application. It's a great opportunity. People who do it love it, but would all say to you that it is hard work. So if you want to apply, the application form is being emailed to your parents and carers at some point today. It might not be immediately after the assembly, but they will have received it probably by the time you get home tonight. Please complete the application form and a cover letter. Once again, due in by 9 a.m. on Monday the 1st of December. We won't be considering late applications. And if you have questions, do come and talk to me. I'm teaching all day today, but I have a bit of time tomorrow. So if you have any questions that you'd like to talk to me about, then please just come and see me. Right then, At this point, I'm going to pause the assembly for 30 seconds. We're going to talk a little bit about men's mental health. If you feel that you cannot be in the next part of the assembly, just discreetly alert your mentor and feel free to leave. You can head to the Wellbeing Hub and see Mrs. Hosking. Just give you 30 seconds to do that before we move on with the next part of the assembly. Okay, here we go. So, November is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And firstly, I just want to publish a couple of disclaimers. One, it goes without saying that everybody's mental health is important. I am not doing this assembly to say only men's mental health is important, but it is Men's Mental Health Awareness. And so as part of that, I want to do some work helping to raise awareness of men's mental health. And so that's the focus of today's assembly. Secondly, when you're talking about this, please be mindful of the fact that not everybody's gender identity is obvious. There could be students that you believe are male who are non-binary or who are female, or the other way around. And so when you talk to people about men's mental health, please just be mindful of the fact that it's not appropriate to assume anyone's gender identity. And I hope the information in this assembly will support everybody. And I'm talking about all males, whether they be cisgender males or transgender males. And I hope that you feel that we're trying to be appropriately mindful and inclusive. So, firstly, and most importantly, when having any conversation about mental health, if you are worried that somebody is in immediate danger of harming themselves or others, please call 999, regardless of the situation. There's absolutely no sense in waiting if you believe somebody is in immediate danger. However much you think they're going to be angry with you or upset with you, call 999. So, a little bit of background. On average, men die 4.5 years earlier than women, and often those reasons are largely preventable for various reasons. There's evidence that suggests men are less likely to go to the hospital than women if they're unwell, but also suicide is the leading cause of death for men up to the age of 40. Last year, 1 in 5 women, but only 1 in 8 men with mental health illnesses sought medical support. And evidence suggests that men are less likely to seek help than women or non-binary people, which is why November is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, because the evidence simply suggests that men are less likely to seek support if they are struggling with their mental health. So the real purpose of this assembly is to say that we need to open the conversation about making it something that men feel more able to do, to go and seek support if they need help. So, signs that someone is struggling. Now, this applies to everybody, but I thought it worth referring to. Now, as you go through life, you will interact with hundreds, thousands, probably millions of people, and sometimes you just get a bit of a vibe that something's wrong. So signs somebody's struggling, and these have all come from the Men's Mental Health Awareness website, are not sleeping, change in habits, so that could be eating, not grooming themselves. So if somebody who normally looks groomed, showered, hairbrushed is turning it up, looking scruffy or hasn't showered or whatever, that's a really big sign. If somebody changes their behaviour around social situations, now some people just don't like social situations, that doesn't mean something's wrong. But if somebody generally attends a social situation and stops attending, then that is a sign that something might be wrong. Missing things they generally do. So if somebody generally attends a football club and they stop going, or a netball club or whatever, that's a sign. Suddenly going quiet on social media or messaging apps, being more irritable, grumpy than usual, or generally feeling more hopeless. You will notice that most of these are about spotting a change, because everybody's different. Some people, for example, don't sleep well anyway. That doesn't mean that there's necessarily a problem. But if they did sleep well and they say they're not sleeping well anymore, that change could indicate that they are struggling. So if somebody is struggling, there is quite a big stigma around mental health. Now, that is very much improving and applies to everybody, but evidence suggests that often, not always, often men feel this stigma more than women or non-binary people. There's cultural pressure. So some communities or societies have a specific stigma around mental health or seeking professional support. Workplaces have got much better with this, but some people feel uncomfortable about opening up in the workplace. They might worry that opening up about mental health struggles could affect their job. That is actually illegal if it does, but people worry about it anyway. And also personal pressure. Some people feel that opening up about mental health struggles could make people feel that there's something wrong with them or whatever. Now, firstly, absolutely not. There is nothing wrong with you if you have mental health struggles. It's a very, very normal type of illness that loads, hundreds, thousands, millions of people suffer from. But we've got to empathise with the fact that people might feel that stigma, meaning they're not going to open up and seek support. So the most important thing you can do to help is normalise talking about it. Now, I'm not asking you to share your own experiences because they're very private, although if you feel comfortable to do so, then absolutely do. I'm very happy to tell you that following a very serious birth injury that I suffered, I've had just over a year's very intensive mental health support for PTSD. And I'm happy to talk to anyone about that and tell anybody about my experiences. And so if you'd like to open that conversation with me, feel free to come and talk to me about it. But if you feel comfortable to share your experiences, then absolutely do. But even if you don't, generally talking about mental health struggles, generally making it part of the conversation is the biggest thing that we can do to reduce the stigma about it. Please make sure you're informed about mental health issues, causes, and treatments available. Reach out to people. So if you are struggling with your mental health and you feel able to, reach out. If we have a culture where people reach out, then other people are statistically more likely to reach out in return. And talk about mental health in the same way as any other medical condition. Often the language around mental health is much more tricky and unhelpful, but mental health is literally a medical condition in the same way as any others. And so I would ask that we hear lots of conversations about this in the study centre this week, because without having those conversations, it's very hard to start breaking the stigma. Now, I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to be able to go through everything that I have got on my PowerPoint, but I will make sure that you get that information another time. But for now, what I'm going to finish with is a list of helplines. I would like every single one of you to get your phone out and take a photo of this. The reason is, even if you don't need them, if everybody in the whole year takes a photo, then doing so is not stigmaed. So I'd like every single student to get your phone out, take a photo of this list, and then for the 1 or 2 people who might need it, or 10 or 20 or however many, I have no idea how many of you might need it, you've got it and there's no stigma in having taken a photo of it. So I'm going to finish there. I'm going to reinforce that the most important thing we can do to generally break the stigma of mental health concerns is to talk about it. I'm going to ask you all to take a photo of this slide, and I'm going to finish the assembly there, but I will leave this on the screen. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll be in touch with you soon. Bye-bye.